What's up, fight fans? Welcome to Sportskeeda MMA's daily news roundup for March 9th. Pound-for-pound king Kamaru Usman has been quite vocal after seeing his two little boys get into a bit of a squabble at UFC 272. While Usman is slated to meet Leon Edwards this summer, he recently started expressing to the MMA world his interest in moving to boxing for a super fight with Canelo Alvarez, and on Mexican Independence Day of all days. In a recent interview with Brett Okamoto, Usman suggested that no fighter was invincible, even pointing to a few examples of ridiculous upsets, Juliana Pena submitting Amanda Nunes being chief among them. Usman then had this to say, "See, that's the thing about this crazy thing that we do, sports. And not just sports, fighting. No one knows the size of the dog inside you. No one knows it. When you tell people your plans, yeah, they're not gonna believe it because they don't see it. They can't do it. They don't do what you do. They don't walk in your shoes. They don't walk in your heart and your energy each and every day. No one knows that. No one sees it. I've said it, everything. I've said it. I've manifested it. There's a lion inside here, a Nigerian African lion that people don't really understand." Usman went on to remind Okamoto that he had promised victories over former champ Tyron Woodley, BMF Jorge Masvidal, and he even promised to become the #1 pound-for-pound fighter, and now he's at the top. It might not be out of the realm of possibility that Usman just possesses something that most people on earth do not, but boxing is a different beast. Uncle Dana already said it was a bad idea, and Canelo himself joked about a payday when the idea was first presented to him. But Usman is adamant, and has even fired back at Canelo. He knows what's up. You know, you're going through this mess and trying to pick up guys that nobody really knows. You say payday. I agree with you, my friend. Payday. For you and for me. You need me more than I need you. So, payday. Do you think Usman versus Canelo can actually be a possibility for 2022? Several MMA personalities have weighed in on Colby Covington's recent tease of moving up to middleweight and beating up Stylebender, among them being Josh Thompson and John McCarthy of the Weighing In podcast. On a recent episode, both men held similar opinions on how that potential matchup would go down. Josh Thompson immediately scoffed at the notion and said he'd get knocked the f*** out, while McCarthy went on to elaborate on that sentiment. He would have to go up and he would have to win, in my opinion, against a quality middleweight, before they're ever going to think about putting him against Izzy. They are not going to take him as a guy that lost twice to Usman and put him against the champ. That ain't gonna happen. Thompson then added, "I can see him maybe fighting like a Paulo Costa. Why not Sean Strickland? The trash talk between those two would be a great lead-up." Never say never, but even the middleweight champ himself believes that Covington doesn't deserve an immediate title shot. On a recent interview with TMZ, Adesanya had this to say, "Everyone always has the idea until they're across the cage from me, and then it's a different beast. Paulo Costa or anyone else that I have fought, I would say just fight someone else. You can't just come straight for the champ. Who the f*** are you? Are you dumb? Call someone else out." It would be a selling point, definitely. Big mouth, I can shut that shit up. Do you think Colby Covington would make that move, or is he just trying to throw shade at Adesanya? The UFC 272 co-main event last Saturday saw Rafael dos Anjos absolutely punish Renato Moicano for 5 rounds, and Michael Bisping shared his thoughts on the beatdown. The former middleweight champ had this to say on his most recent YouTube video. "When you go through that kind of fight, never mind the physical damage, never mind your eyes and the cuts and the nose and the bones, and everything that might be broken, the psychological trauma." He then continued, "You might never be the same again. Physically may never be the same, but mentally. Listen, when you get knocked out cold, you're gun-shy. Simple as that. The skeleton's in the closet. There's psychological trauma. Same thing when you go through something like that, but even more so. When you go through something like that, it will affect your confidence." No doubt Bisping is speaking from experience, given the fact that he gave his heart, soul, and even one eye for the sport. Moicano, however, feels much differently about the situation. In a recent interview with TMZ Sports, Moicano said this, "I'm really thankful that the judge didn't stop the fight, because otherwise, I would not know what I'm made of. I always try to go forward. I always try to fight back, and for me, it was perfect. The referee did his job. It was a great job." What's your opinion? Do you think the fight should have been stopped before the bell? On a lighter note, Bisping also shared a hilarious story from the budding bromance of Khamzat Chimaev and Darren Till. Bisping recalled being in a car with both men and Chimaev at the wheel. He then had this to say about the experience on his podcast. "We get in the car, Khamzat's driving. Now I don't know if he has a driving license or not, and I don't know how tough it is to get a driver's license in Chechnya because the is out of his mind behind the wheel of a car. He's driving like a psychopath." Bisping then continued, "Younger guys, right? Maybe when I was younger I would have thought it was hilarious as well. but I'm 43 in the back with 3 kids and a wife I want to get back to. And I'm like, get my seatbelt on. Khamzat's driving like a nutter. He's going down the wrong side of the road. And I'm like, Khamzat, you're on the wrong side of the road. And he's like, brother, it's no problem, it's good. And I'm like shitting my pants. Darren thinks it's fucking hilarious. Well, now we know that Chimaev's insane fighting style equally matches his normal everyday personality. The story ended with Darren Till doing donuts in a gas station parking lot. If you want to hear the rest, check out Bisping's podcast. Do you think Chimaev was just showing Bisping how they drive in the Caucasus region? And last but not least, everyone's favorite food truck connoisseur recently issued a challenge to all Bryce Mitchell haters. After his dominant wrestling showcase over Edson Barboza last Saturday, Mitchell generously offered to donate half his fight check to children with medical conditions in Arkansas. The gesture was so kind, it even prompted Uncle Dana to tell Mitchell that he would instead donate the $45,000, and there was no need to spend his fight check. Schaub sung his praises for Mitchell and blasted his haters on a recent episode of The Schaub Show. Imagine taking half your salary and donating to sick kids, and you want to hate on Bryce Mitchell? Are you out of your goddamn mind? I don't care what fence you're on. Vaccine, anti-vax, Trump, Biden, whatever it is. Flat Earth, lizard people, I don't give a shit. For a kid in Bryce Mitchell to say, hey, take half my salary to make these kids, who knows, buy them toys, buy them something. A lot of them aren't coming out of that hospital, man. How you can hate on that kid is insane to me. If you're gonna hate on him, donate half your salary to a children's hospital. If you can't do that, visit a hospital, bring toys to a children's hospital, and make it into 2 rooms. Let me know how it goes for you. That about does it for Sportskeeda MMA's most exciting news from the MMA world. Here is one final question for you fight fans. Does Bryce Mitchell look like a legitimate contender at 145? How impressed were you by his performance against a veteran like Barboza? Don't forget to subscribe and follow Sportskeeda MMA on all our social media platforms. I'm Alex, and as always, thanks for tuning in.